Hi, I'm Cindy Abbott Letro for Behind the Camera, and today we are sitting in a beautiful gazebo that is in the heart of Akron, New York. And if you haven't visited here, you really should, because it is so peaceful, it's so beautiful. But it was a hub of activity for a little bit this summer. A Quiet Place 2 was shot here, and I'm with the mayor of Akron, Carl Patterson, who is, I'm told, just about to begin your fourth term.
Fourth term,
So
yes,
you've been
that's
in
correct.
office, what, 16 years?
16 years, yes.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, how did Akron, first of all, get chosen? How did you get in the running to be the location for this film?
Well, you know, I really don't know how that all happened, quite honestly. We were contacted, actually, I believe it was Tim Clark that contacted us and told us that we were one of the communities that they were looking at, and quite honestly, didn't know what that meant for sure.
Well, you know, and the thing is that there is a whole sort of routine that people go through, and they, you know, when they're starting to look for a location, they send out location managers, and a lot of the things I think are done digitally. They have pictures of villages and towns and places across the country, and then they choose the one that's, you know, most adaptable. So what did they tell you when you said, how did this all happen?
Yeah, so they went right through what you just explained. They had done some previous, kind of taken a look at us. They were on our main street. We really didn't know it at the time. So it was a surprise to us, but at the same time, it was exciting, very exciting.
Well, this is a big, you know, the film A Quiet Place 1, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, it was a big deal.
Well, big deal too is that we didn't know at the very first that that's what it was or who it was that was going to be not only directing but acting as well, and so that even made it more of a, you know, excitement, if you will.
When did that happen? When did you find out? When was that first sort of inquiry saying, we think we would like to shoot here?
That would have been back in early May.
May of 2019.
Right. Yep. And then from there, we met with some of the location people and the production people, and I must tell you, our first inclination was, wow, this is pretty exciting. Number one, this is the village of Akron. We're a small community, right?
And how many people live here?
About 3,000,
okay,
approximately, and didn't know what that meant to us at the time. So what I can tell you is that our first inclination was, you know, how's this going to impact the community? Because what we did learn when at the very first meeting, because we had a informational meeting, if you will, with the Paramount Group, and which was very productive, by the way, that we learned that the shoot was primarily going to take place on Main Street in our business district. So that was a bit of a concern, immediate concern. Sure. Not to overreact, but, you know, a concern that how is this going to impact the community, both inside Main Street and outside in the community, because we have, you know, we have local business, we have professional services and so forth on Main Street, so that was a huge concern.
And how did you balance that? Because I would assume that that means closing down the street when they're shooting, you know, giving up your control of what would happen on a day-to-day basis and handing it over to the movie company. So
what was kind of made easy, because those are all concerns that we had, but what made that easy is the people that we were working with Paramount. We right away initiated informational meetings, and we had a group that we developed with village representation and the Paramount Group, both location and production folks, as well as some of our managers of our different utilities and so forth. So, for example, we needed to have we worked with our DPW, our police agency, our fire agencies, and got those folks all together with the Paramount folks, and we walked through the expectations and the different logistics that needed to happen in order for us to be able to manage this activity on Main Street. And to your point, and the question you just had or the comment, we did close Main Street for a number of days, depending on the type of shoot or what have you. And I must tell you that was a concern, but it all went quite well.
That's great. That's great to know that. Because, I mean, there is that great unknown. You know, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and as I say that, I'm certain there were a few incidents and a few examples of some challenges, but quite frankly, we worked through them. And one of the reasons we worked through them is because there was good communication between all the groups. Safety was a big concern because we're working on Main Street. And we have residents, we have tenants on Main Street, we have businesses, and we have property owners. And we needed to try to balance all that.
How long were they actually here from, I know that there would be prep that had to be done from that point until when the shooting was done?
Yeah, so prep started in June, early June, and they're still here. So prep was early June. The shoot was actually for...
And we're taping this first week of August,
Yes.
just so you know. So there you go.
Yeah, and the prep work, so when the prep work was finished, the shoot started, I think it was July 23rd, and somewhere in that vicinity, and it lasted 8 days.
Okay.
And then now they're working on cleanup now. So
Well, were there major changes made? And it's so that if people go to the film and they look at it, will they say, oh, that's Akron, New York, or did they change the way Main Street looked?
it's a different look.
Ah.
It was a different look. There was a lot of work on the facades, a lot of new additions to some of the buildings. Some of it was temporary, some of it stayed. Some of the colors changed. So it was exciting. It was really, really exciting. And with that, there was a lot of folks that visited our community that wanted to check it out after they heard about it.
So more foot traffic of people that came here.
We seen foot traffic increase, I don't know, tenfold. It was significant. Significant.
Well, it's sort of an area, the fact that we have so much filmmaking taking place in our region now, not just Buffalo or Erie County, I mean, smaller communities all over the place, is because there is a tax incentive that New York State has, and in the city of Buffalo, there's an additional tax incentive. But there are those that say that that making films doesn't really have an economic impact. Are you able to make any judgment on that?
Well, what's difficult is to measure that. That's what's difficult. But what isn't difficult is it's plain to see that when you see a large amount of foot traffic increase in your community, and you hear people on social media today talk about, did you visit Akron? Did you see did you see John Krasinski today on the street? Because they were all visible, right? So I know that outside of the shoot period, the businesses seen an uptick. But as far as how much or what percentage, that's very difficult to measure.
Would you say it was all in all a positive experience for you? I mean, because you had to make the decision, even though you had all of these people around. You're the guy in charge at this point that signs off on it.
I made a comment the other night at one of our board meetings and thanked everyone for their patience and their cooperation. But all in all, very positive experience. Very positive. It was exciting. It's kind of quiet now, quite honestly, around here.
What was the high point? I mean, was there something that you remember that was particularly...
Well, there was a couple different ones, right? The first one was just the transformation of Main Street, of what every day it took a little different look. And then at the end, there's so much detail and so much change to it. That's number one. Number two is the increase of foot traffic on Main Street. Mm-hmm. And that was significant. And then the last is when the shoot started, all the excitement with the shoot. I mean, there was a lot of excitement because, as you know, this was a very big movie and a lot of excitement around it.
What did you learn from it, just that you didn't know before?
Oh, the detail. Oh my goodness, the detail that goes into it and the logistics and the planning. And we were part of that, a big part of that. And I think that's what played heavily into the success of the whole process, because we were all part of that whole communication link, if you will, and part of the planning. And again, the logistics, very, very, very much unbelievable. A lot of moving parts.
But you would say it was all in all a positive experience.
Very positive experience.
It's great. Well, this is one of the reasons why the Film Commission is around, is the fact that we try to promote the creative area of making films in this region. It's so great when we hear a good story.
Wow.
And I bet you can't wait until the film comes out to see how it all looks on the screen.
That's the feedback we get now from the community. They're all looking forward to it.
Oh,
Yes.
that's wonderful. Well, thank you for talking to us, and thank you for making
I
this such a
appreciate it.
great.
Thanks very much.
It's great to have all of these ambassadors for our region when folks come in to do what they do best, which is making movies. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
And we
Appreciate
hope
it.
that you'll join us again on Behind the Camera.